Hello everyone. Yeah, welcome to .NET X YouTube channel. And my name is Shalin Chauhan. And today we having Mr. Slobodan, who is going to talk to you about implementing the domain-driven design with Angular.
Exactly. Yeah.
And what are the queries, guys? You can ask through the chat window. And please try to ask how much the query you can ask regarding the Angular, regarding your Angular project. I hope you might be building some real application with Angular. So we can discuss here like how we can implement the domain-driven design in your Angular application. So I'm just going to hand over the things to the Slobodan. Yeah, please go ahead.
Okay. Thank you for introduction. And first, I want to thank you for inviting me to this presentation. So, first, I wanted to tell to everyone who is listening here on presentation, we're not going to do any coding today. So you can relax, take a cup of coffee or tea, whatever is your free choice of drink, and just enjoy this for now. Later on, you will need to uh, do some actually work for you and do some efforts in order to make this um, valuable presentation. But for now, you can just listen, and that's the only thing which I'm requiring from you to listen and pay attention, and that's it. Try to enjoy. So I would like to, before I start presentation, just to tell a couple of words about myself. So my name is Slobodan, as you already heard, and I work as a senior front-end developer at Multilogin, and I have years of experience. Previously, I had projects for companies like TopTel and Microsoft and many other companies. So apart from my daily work, I like to create content, and I do create tutorials, I create code snippets, I create different animations about the coding. So if you're up into learning anything about front end, feel free to check out my LinkedIn profile and also my YouTube channel. The links are on this slide. And also apart from that, I like videography. That is the reason why I have YouTube channel. I like photography. I like traveling and taking pictures of everything. Also, I like fishing. So if you like any of these things and you would like to discuss, also feel free to send me a message. And apart from that, I'm a big sports fan. I like playing sports, watching sports, and yeah, that's about me. So I would like to start this presentation with a quote. If a just were an Olympic sport, India would be assured of a gold medal. And it's a saying from Veena Venugopal. And Veena Venugopal is a published author, and she's speaking about position of mother-in-law in Indian society. But what she's trying to say with this quote is that Indian people were able to adjust throughout the time. Whatever got to them, they were able to adjust. And if we are able to use the same attribute and apply that to designing a software system, we could say that we have built a good software system. So we are raising a question here that we actually need to design something which will be able to adjust, right? So how do we come up with a design? And let's just assume that everybody can design a system, right? But the thing is that not every design is a good design, and not every design serves its purpose. Like you can see on this picture, this stairs doesn't do much, right? Except they take space in your home. So in my opinion, in order to design a good software system, you need to have a group of people who have great experience in what they do, and they have great technical knowledge. And the reason for that is because they know what works the best in projects, in live projects, in real life. And they take that experience and they create design patterns. They create best practices, and multiple best practices create design patterns. And they use that over and over again on their projects. And multiple design patterns create something which is domain driven design, and that is methodology. So domain-driven design is a methodology, and it's basically it was introduced in 2003 by Eric Evans. And basically, Eric gathered all the ideas and design patterns, not only from himself, but from other experts. And many things in this book haven't been invented by this guy, but he gathered everything and gave it a name of domain-driven design. So what is the purpose of domain-driven design? The purpose of it is to build long-lasting software system. It's not something that you will build for a couple of years. Like we said, we want something to be able to adjust, to be able easily to maintain, especially big, large software systems. And in ever-changing industry where you can see that the frameworks are being changed, like in a matter of 6 months, in a year, 2 years, when you get back to the industry, you see everything has been changed. So we want something that is something that will be easily adjustable, maintainable, and understandable, because complex software systems are hard to understand. And that is one of the main ideas of domain-driven design. So in this book, we are getting two disciplines in order to get and to deliver this idea. So we have tactical and strategic design. Tactical design focuses more on practical things like implementing object-oriented patterns and functional programming and things like that. Whereas strategic design is looking more of like a bigger picture, and how uh, system will be architecture, how it will be uh, laid down and separated, the big complex system, how it will be separated into different pieces, smaller pieces, which are called in this situation domains, and how they will be interact between each other. So that is the main idea with strategic design. It looks the bigger picture compared to tactical design. And the strategic design is trying to resolve this issue where you can see here on this picture. So something which is very complex, which is hard to understand, something where you don't know what is connected to what, the chaos. And that is the main problem which strategic design is trying to to solve. So today we're covering strategic design. We don't have time to cover the book. I'm going to be showing you the main concepts, because this topic could be talked about for hours and hours. I'm going to cover some main topics, key ideas of this. And as you know, you should look at domain-driven design as a toolbox. And there's a lot of tools in this book, but you should learn everything. You should read about everything, but you should only apply some of these to your project. It's the same thing as if you maybe use the Bootstrap, for example, the library, or whatever library you're using. You're not using all the components in your project. You include the whole library, but you use only the things that you actually need. So it's a toolbox, it's a set of tools and the features, and you're using only the things that you actually need. So one of the main idea of strategic design is to identify domains. So like we said, we have complex system in one hand, and we are trying to identify what are domains in smaller parts of the software system, and then to separate that software system into smaller pieces. And basically the developers need to work alongside with business experts, because in most cases you don't know what are the areas of the application that you are working with. For example, maybe you're working on selling application, e-commerce application, and you don't know anything about the selling, or you're working maybe on marketing application or sports application, and you don't know anything about those domains. So you need to work with experts from those domains in order to identify domains, and who will help you how to set and separate it into small pieces, and to know how to interact between them. That's a crucial. Then ubiquitous language is a very interesting concept. It's a scary word, complex. It sounds like complex word, but all it does, it's basically that software developers have different view on things from users and business experts. And as you can see on this image, the logic behind this is that the software developers and the people who are using the software need to come up with the same terminology. The experts need to have same terminology as the domain experts and software developers, because once they start actually using the software, they need to be on the same page, and there has to be no ambiguity or any questions. They need to be on the same page all the time. So every naming you have in your code base, like the properties, the methods, the object, everything needs to reflect what is on the business logic. And that is ubiquitous language. It's basically that you need to find the same language with the people who know the business logic. So we are going to look at this example, e-procurement system. It's basically a system for ordering supplies. Uh, I had this situation in one of my companies. It's basically when you want to order something and company buys that for you. and I wanted to buy a new laptop, but actually I got a good one like a year before, but I wanted to get a new one to play games. And I asked my manager, hey, can I get a new laptop? And he said, yes, you can get new laptop if you keep working more, if you keep, working on weekends and all of these things, which I didn't want to do. And we will buy you a new laptop. So I said, hey, my laptop is good enough already, so I'm not going to buy a new one. But the thing is that actually you can see on this system how we can see this complex system of ordering products and separating. So as you can see in the first, on the first process step, that you have actually request a product. So employee like myself requests a product, requests a laptop. Then an expert needs to specify an order. So what is the laptop? What price it is? What is the supplier? How many you want? And things similar to that. Then manager needs to approve the order. Like like my manager approved, but he actually gave me some conditions. Then if it gets approved, the buying agent sends an order. Manager then requests the budget. Obviously, it shouldn't be the same manager because we have different managers for different steps. Request the budget for the product, and at the end, the budget gets approved if it's like in boundaries of the budget. The price is in the boundaries of the budget. So as we can see from all of these steps, some steps do resolves more around the managers, about the budget, the orders, and other steps resolves more about the employees. So it can give us some idea how we can separate this complex software system into something which is more understandable for us. And let's first assume that the first thing which we can create from this system is catalog. So it's something that where you decide what do you want to buy. Well, let's say when you go to Amazon or any other e-sales uh, types of website, and you want to buy something, so you look here for the products that you want to buy. So you look at the images, your description, the ratings, all these things which help you to decide what do you want to buy. So we have catalog. Then we have specification. This is for specifying what kind of order do you actually want. Like we said, what is the quantity, who is the supplier, all these specifications. So it goes into this domain. Then we have the approval. So manager needs to approve the order, approve the budget, all of these things. And the last thing is ordering itself. So shipping and delivering. So we can see how we can split the complex system into different parts, and they are now called domains, and they are uh, individual pieces of this software system, and they are interacting between each other because otherwise they wouldn't form a system. But now let's take a look at the catalog, specifically at the product model. So you can see in this example that in order to catalog to deliver its feature and function to work as it's expected, model of product needs to have a picture. So you need to see in a catalog, do you like the laptop or not? You need to see the price. Is it something affordable? You need to see the reviews. Is it something that you want to buy and people are happy with it? You need to see description of it. Do you like the configuration? The title in order to find it. So all these things, an idea obviously for a database in order to be separated and unique. All these things are completely necessary in order for this model in this catalog to work. But if we look at the same model inside of a different domain, and we can see this is in the approval domain, the only thing which you actually need in approval domain is actually price, which is correlated to the budget. So they need to see is price in boundaries of a budget. They need title in order to find it, and ID to identify different products. As you can see, the same model is different in different domains. And how that is called is bounded context. So context means that we are not trying to create models which are describing every single situation we have in systems. So we want the models to be as concrete as possible, only to contain information that you actually need inside of your context, inside of your domain. And that's the main purpose. And let me show you an example of what I mean by that. So this is simple example. On the right side, you can see basically the fight is in the same in the both cases. And the right side, you can see if you're fighting with somebody on the street or in the office. In this case, you can easily end up in jail, right? But on the left side, if you're fighting at Olympics, like let's say, or for a belt, championship belt, you can win a gold medal or a lot of money or championship belt, all of these good things. So you're fighting in both of these cases, but where do you fight actually does matter. Context does matter. So it's the same thing. Model is only valid inside of its own context, and that's it. That's the main concept. Now, as we said, we have different domains: catalog, ordering, and ERP system. So we want them to be as separated as they can be. They need to be separated in order to be easy, maintainable, and understandable. But they still need to interact between each other. If they are not interacting, they are not forming a system. They're just then different applications totally. So in this case, ordering needs to communicate with catalog and ERP system. But if they can access everything inside of those domains, it means that they are not separated. They are then just naming differently, but they can access everything. So we need to limit the access of a domain to another domain. And how we do that is catalog is providing an API to ordering. So as you saw, uh, API from catalog only needs the price. They only need the ID and title in order to deliver what they need. So they don't need the picture, they don't need the reviews, they don't need description, all these informations additional. So API is providing only a completely necessary information for them to deliver what's intended from them. And as you can see, ordering doesn't affect too much ERP systems. So they are only introducing anti-corruption layer ACR in order to affect it, to access it. And that's it. So this idea is called context mapping. So what context mapping is? It's a way to show how particular domains can access different domains, and only the things that they can access inside of those domains. And that's it. It's really a simple approach. Okay, these were the main concepts of strategic design. And let me just review them before we actually go into how to implement this inside of your Angular application. So we talked about ubiquitous language, and we said that it's a basically same terminology between the software developers and business experts, and they need to come on the same page, and so there is no any ambiguity or misconception about the naming conventions, about the codes and everything. Then we talked about bounding context. And if you remember the fighting, the context matter. So the model is only valid inside of its own domain. So we are not sharing the completely same model to different domains. And at the end, we talked about context mapping, which is basically providing an API or a way how to communicate between domains and only showing the properties which they are actually needing. And that's it. Now, let's see how we can implement that in Angular application. Uh, this whole methodology is technology agnostic. So it's basically a theory which you can apply in every single technology. Today I'm showing you how can you implement this on Angular, but you can use NX as well to implement this on React. And if you're using some other technology, you can come up with different types and things how you can implement that. But what is an NX? NX is an extension of an Angular CLI. And besides other things, it gives you options to separate your application into libraries and domains. And that's the main thing which we need here in order to implement strategic design. Okay. We have a couple of approaches to implement strategic design. So one of the approaches is to have monorepo approach, where, like I said, with NX, you're separating your solution into one repository. So you have multiple libraries inside of one repository, which resembles monorepos approach. And this approach has been extensively used by companies like Google, Facebook for years, and it has been proven that it works correctly. But as you can see here, alternative approach is micro app approach. So you don't have to implement this with NX like I'm doing today. Micro app approach is basically the thing where every single domain is separate application. So they are not sharing the same code base. But for example, if you have catalog would be a separate application. It's not going to be the same application. So that's a different approach you can do as well. Just to answer a question, are we going to build any website? No, today that is not a topic which we're going to cover how to build a website. We are talking about architecturing a system. Okay, now let's continue. So the main benefit of implementation, strategic design implementation with NX is that everything is in one apps folder, like I said. So it's really easy to maintain, and you have single source of truth, and that's one of the main benefits. It's also easy to keep track of. That's one of the good things. And also all domains, which we are calling with, these are the parts of the software system, which in domain-driven design are called domains, but here we are calling it libraries. So they're all stored inside of the ellipse folder, all the domains. And we have different categories, which we'll be talking about in a minute. The good sides of this is it prevents version conflicts. So if you have one application and inside of that application you have multiple libraries, they all use one node modules. It means that they're all using the same packages. If you remember micro app approach, which we discussed a couple of minutes ago, it would need the separate application for every single domain. It would mean that if you're using Angular for, obviously you are, if you're using, let's say, version 8, so you would need to make sure that every single application is having the same Angular version, all the other dependencies. But if you're using NX, you have only one node modules, and all the libraries and all the domains are using the same packages. So you don't have to worry about that. It prevents version conflicts. It's really easy to maintain and to work with, and still you have separate applications. So now installation of NX, it's really easy. As this is a CLI tool, it's really easy to work with, to learn. You only need to learn a couple of command lines, and that's it. You will be able to create this design pattern. So you just need to run npm install -g for global installing, and then it goes the name of the package. In order to create a workspace, again, it's really easy. You just need to type create NX workspace, and then goes the name of the workspace itself. Here I wrote eProc, which stands for e-procurement system, the one from the example that we showed on the beginning of this slide. And then adding applications and libraries, it's really straightforward. First, obviously, you need to change directory to your workspace, and it's cd eProc, which is the name of our workspace. And then in order to generate the apps, you would just run the command ng generate app UI. This is mostly for components which are DOM components and which are reusable. They are called UI components. And then if you want to generate some of the libraries, you will run the command ng generate lib, and then feature request product. This is the name of the library, or a domain, as we call it in domain-driven design. Now, we have different set of categories inside of the libraries, because NX gives us layers approach in order to maintain our structure and to maintain our application. So let's just briefly cover what are these categories. So first, we have a feature library, which holds the code for the logic. These are smart components, reusable smart components. After that, we have UI. Like I said, these are DOM components which are used on most of the places, and they're just replaceable, reusable. They don't hold any logic. They're just holding the structure and the face of your application. Then we have data access library, a category which actually handles the communication of HTTP and WebSockets. So most of the feature components, smart components, actually has access to data access category. Then we have util category, which stands for a helper category domain. Util, like, stands for utilities. Now, in most of these, not most, but every single application here which you're building for strategic design will have multiple domains. That's the whole purpose, to have multiple domains, right? The shell categories is there to tell which is the entry point for your application, because you have multiple domains. So one needs to be entry, one needs to be first, which actually enters the application. We have an API which reveals what, as we discussed in context mapping, it reveals what things are accessible to other domains. Not every domain has access to everything, and not every domain has access to every single domain. And then we have domain category, which actually stands for, which actually holds a logic which is specific to that domain. So, for example, in our example, e-procurement system, it will hold additional calculations, maybe for VAT or stuff like that, similar. So this is for that. And these are all categories we have for libraries. Now, because like I said, we need to limit the approach of one domain to another. So not every single domain has access to every single domain. And also only the ones who have access to them have just limited access. And this can sometimes be tricky, and you can lose track what has access to what, especially as the application grows. And NX has a great feature which gives you a chance to visually check what has access to what. And there's a simple command to do that. You would just run npm run deep graph, and it will give you graphical representation of what library has access to what, and just to see that. And I have a it looks like this, something similar to this. As you can see on this example, this is a example from the beginning for e-procurement system. And on top, we have dump UI components, which has access to shell, which is an entry point for your application. And as you can see, the shell has access to the features, which in this case is catalog, feature, browse, and request product. And along with the catalog API, they have access to data access, which, like we said, communicates with HTTP. And everything along has access to utils, which are helper functions. And this is a great feature of NX, which gives you, especially when application starts growing, you can use this to remind yourself what can you use. But this is not the only thing which NX is doing. So they're trying to enforce you on a couple layers to use the only domains that you actually need. So they're trying to enforce that with linters as well. In this case, TS-lint, but you can use ES-lint, whatever linter you're using. So as you can see, they are prettifying every single library with a name. So they call it a scope. And you can only use the libraries or domains inside of your domain. So you cannot access the other libraries, and because they are scoped with a name. And if you try to do that, you will get an error inside of a linter. And this is what they are trying to enforce with an inline tool. But this is not the only thing. Coding, you can actually check yourself are using something which is not allowed. If you can hear me still, please let me know if you can still. Okay, we're back. And that basically wraps up how we can implement domain-driven design with Angular. Now, let's just review what we discussed today. So first, we discussed what domain-driven design is and what it's trying to solve, what issues are. As we said, we have on one side complex software systems, big complex software systems, and on the other side, we have business logic. So we're trying to reduce the gap between the two, and we're trying to build something which is easily maintainable, like we said, and something which will be able to adjust throughout the time and to last for 10, 15, 20, if not more years. And that's the whole idea of domain-driven design. Today we cover strategic design. We have tactical design as well, and maybe on some of the future workshops we can talk how we can implement strategic and tactical design as well, and show you on real example and practical example. And at the end, we talked about implementation with NX. Today, we just scratched the surface, and there's a lot of tools from this domain-driven design book. And I would highly suggest to everyone to read this book because it will make you better developers. It will make you better architects. I just gave you an idea which you need to work on, and think of domain-driven design as a toolbox. Like I said at the beginning, you will learn everything about it. You should learn everything about it because it has good sides. And one of the best software systems use the similar approach, monorepo approach. But you only use the things which you actually need inside of your application, and that's basically it. Yeah. Now, if you have any questions, feel free to ask in the chat. If not, I showed you the links to my profile on LinkedIn and YouTube. Feel free always to reach out to me and to ask if you have any doubts or you would like to discuss anything about this topic or generally in front end. I'm always open to help and to discuss. Yeah, that's it for me.
So guys, if you have any query regarding the domain-driven design, please do ask. Even if you have any query regarding how to build your Angular architecture,
Yeah,
like how
sure.
to follow the best practices for building on Angular application architecture, please do ask.
Yeah.
So we are here for a couple of minutes as well to give your query answer.
Yeah, and like I said, if you cannot come up with the questions, you can always reach out. Okay, we have a question for Arun. Can we use same architecture in small application? Uh, you could use, but the thing is that it could be overwhelming. The thing is that if you use the small application and you start slicing it, it wouldn't make any sense because in most cases, small application doesn't have that many parts, and we don't have a need. Once you actually feel like that your application is starting to get overwhelming and too large and hard to understand and to maintain, and it starts to get slower and slower. These are signs that you need to start implementing some of these things. But this should be considered once the application starts being planned, and people usually know uh, how big of an application they want to have. And in most cases, it's like 5 to 10 times larger than what is initially planned. But yeah, this main concept is built for large and complex system, not for small applications. I hope that answers your question. Okay, let's see if we do get any more. Uh, AngularJS is MVC pattern design. Okay, we have a question. AngularJS is MVC pattern design. Uh, then what about Angular? We'll follow about architecture. Yeah, so Angular itself, it's a similar design pattern. It also has models, which are services. It also has Vue, which are components, and so it's a similar design pattern as the AngularJS. The difference is in the architecture of how it works under the hood. That's the main difference of the AngularJS and Angular. But it's the similar concept. The similar concepts has different Angular frameworks as well. So the main idea here is to understand that you need to find a way how to separate your complex systems, and I mean, the whole concept of every JavaScript framework is to separate into components, into smaller pieces, because it's hard to maintain and to understand the big things. So this is one of the things which you want to do in both, whether it's AngularJS, Angular, or maybe it's React. Whatever it is, you're trying to break it down. But don't be overwhelmed with the namings and what somebody is calling. If it's MVC, MVC star pattern, whatever it is, it's similar patterns. They are very, very similar. The only difference is how it works under the hood. That's the main difference under them. Uh, will the domain-driven design vary on Angular versions? No. Like I said, this is technology agnostic methodology. So you can apply this on different technologies. You can apply this on React, on different versions of Angular, AngularJS, whatever. You can apply that on other languages like Python, Java, whatever. So the main concept is how to use a complex system and how to break it down. Today we discussed how we can do that with Angular, but it doesn't have to. It's not tied to any specific version. Yeah. Where I can find an example step by step. Yeah, we can share that after I have some links. I can share that. I will probably share. We have a group on the. I can share here in the comments on YouTube, but also we have a group on LinkedIn. So I will share on both of these in case somebody is interested. Okay, we have multiple questions. How to maintain versions? Okay, how to maintain versions. Okay, uh, so the thing is that actually in domain-driven design, and especially the approach which I showed, you actually don't have to worry about the version conflicts. So you're only maintaining the version you have. And it actually depends on your release system. So in some teams, you have continuous flow release system. So it means once you have a feature, you release it. And it's really hard I mean, there's a conflict of thinking. So, but basically, some teams do have releases on like 6 months established, 6 months, a year, and then you change the versions. This is how you maintain the versions. When you have smaller releases, you're incrementing the smaller number. When you have big releases which have some breaking changes, then you change the big number version. So instead of Angular, let's say 1, you have Angular 2. Instead of Angular 8, you have Angular 9. and then you have different versions of 9.1, 9.2, depending on the features itself. So this is how the versions are being maintained. But it's a little bit off topic from today's what we discussed today. But yeah, okay, we discussed about the architecture of Angular. Okay, so they are basically using model view controller architecture, which is, yeah, that's it. That is basically what is the architecture of the Angular. Yeah. Okay, let's see. Do we have any more questions? Okay, we have another question. Is the domains are same as different domains as we have in the backend? Oh, we have the different domains in the front-end side. So no, you basically, when you separate application into domain, that domain need to have both front-end, back-end, everything you need for that particular domain. So it means, if, like we said, if you're splitting e-procurement system, your first domain which we decided to be is catalog. So that catalog needs to have the backend, the front end, everything, and it should be, as we said, as possible as it can be separated from other domains. So yeah, it's the same domain for both back and forth. Yeah, I hope I answered your question. Okay, let's see if we have any more questions.
So I think everyone has done. So now you can share your detail, whatever you are willing to share, so that the people can connect with you if they will have any query.
Sorry, can you repeat? I missed that last part.
Yeah, I'm saying you can share your the email ID and any other thing. Somebody will have the query, so they can ask directly from there. Or in between there are two more questions. You can give the answer to those as well.
Okay. Any pattern suggested to use? Okay, so this is a little bit off topic because design patterns that are used in architecture are more covered in technical design, and usually they like more object-oriented approach instead of functional programming. So we could cover that in a different presentation. But and you have different design patterns. I mean, inside of the Angular application, like a singleton approach, there's a lot of like a facade approach. So there are different patterns. Yeah, which it depends on your code base, your application that you're building. Yeah, it's really hard to suggest design pattern when you don't know what is the problem. It's okay. So the last question, it's similar domain-driven design to clean architecture. Yeah, exactly. I mean, this is the whole purpose of domain-driven design is to create clean architecture, something which will be easy to maintain and to understand, like we said at the beginning. So yeah, that's something which we're trying to achieve here. There are different kind of methodologies and approaches to this. This is just one of them which you can try and see if it works for you. Yeah. Okay. I think that I see no more comments, at least for now. But like I said, we should wrap it up.
Yeah, now we can wrap it up.
Yeah, we could wrap it up. And like I said, guys, feel free to reach out. I receive a lot of questions on LinkedIn, and I try always to answer all of them. So if you have any questions further, always feel free to reach out. Yeah. Thank you guys
So,
for being here. Yeah.
okay, so thank you, Sarvadan, for taking this session. I hope the people liked it and they will watch your video till tomorrow, because what happens, the people are not available at the same time.
Yeah.
So whatever the question they will ask, we will reach to you. If somebody willing to have the more detail about that one.
Yes.
Thank you for your time and giving this webinar. I hope we will have some more session in future as well regarding the similar things.
For sure. Yeah. For sure. Okay. Thank you once again, and yeah. See you in some of the future presentation or workshops. We will have those for sure.
Okay, sure. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.